Picture this. You're walking down a bustling street in Tehran, the scent of saffron and grilled meat filling the air, when suddenly an elderly man approaches you with a warm smile and insists you join his family for tea. This isn't a scene from a movie or some carefully orchestrated tourist experience. This is Iran, the real Iran that you've never been told about. For decades, Western media has painted a picture of this country that's so far from reality, it's almost laughable. While politicians debate and news anchors sensationalize, over 80 million Iranians are living their lives, falling in love, starting businesses, creating art, and extending hospitality that would put your grandmother to shame. Today, we're going to shatter every preconceived notion you have about Iran. And we're going to do it on a budget that will shock you. I recently spent a month in Iran with just $700 in my pocket. And what I discovered wasn't just a country, but a complete reimagining of everything I thought I knew about the Middle East. From underground coffee shops serving Italian-quality espresso to hiking trails that rival the Swiss Alps, from fashion-forward women who make Paris look conservative to street food that costs less than a McDonald's meal but tastes like it was prepared by a Michelin-starred chef. The Iran I'm about to show you doesn't exist in your evening news. It doesn't fit neatly into political soundbites or travel warnings. It's complex, beautiful, frustrating, and absolutely mesmerizing. It's a country where ancient Persian poetry is quoted in casual conversation, where teenagers use VPNs to watch Netflix while their grandparents perform prayers that have remained unchanged for over 1,000 years. You're probably wondering right now, is it safe? Can you actually travel there? What about the hijab laws, the sanctions, the political situation? We're going to address every single one of your concerns with real experiences, not recycled news reports. But first, let me tell you something that might surprise you. Iran is currently experiencing a tourism boom. Not from Americans or Europeans, mind you, but from Russians, Chinese, and neighboring countries who have discovered what I'm about to show you. The adventure begins the moment you step off the plane in Tehran. The immigration officer, instead of giving you the stern interrogation you might expect, asks where you're from and immediately launches into a discussion about your country's football team. This sets the tone for everything that follows. Iranians are genuinely curious about the outside world, and they're eager to show you that their country is nothing like what you've been told. But here's what really caught me off guard. Iran isn't just safe for tourists. It's one of the safest countries I've ever visited. Crime rates are remarkably low. Locals go out of their way to help lost travelers, and the biggest danger you'll face is probably eating too much of their incredible food. Women travel solo here regularly, both Iranian women and international visitors, navigating the cultural requirements with an ease that speaks to just how normal and manageable daily life really is. So, buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey that will challenge everything you think you know about Iran, Islam, and the Middle East. We're going to eat in homes where strangers become family, shop in bazaars that have operated continuously for over 6 centuries, and discover why Iran might just be the most misunderstood travel destination on Earth. Now, before we dive deeper into this incredible country, you need to understand where exactly we are and how this place became what it is today. Iran sits at the crossroads of Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, a geographic position that has shaped its destiny for millennia. Imagine a country roughly the size of Alaska, but instead of endless tundra, you're looking at dramatic mountain ranges, vast deserts that seem to stretch into infinity, lush forests along the Caspian Sea, and a Persian Gulf coastline that most people don't even know exists. The landscape here is so diverse, it's almost absurd. In the north, you have the Alborz Mountains with peaks that soar over 18,000 feet, creating a natural barrier that traps moisture from the Caspian Sea and creates surprisingly green, fertile valleys. Travel south and you'll find yourself in the middle of the Lut Desert, one of the hottest places on Earth, where the ground temperature can reach over 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet somehow, ancient civilizations not only survived here, but thrived. This is the land of ancient Persia, And when I say ancient, I mean ancient. While Europe was still figuring out agriculture, Persians were building the world's first postal system, creating gardens that inspired the word paradise, and establishing an empire that stretched from India to Greece. The Persian Empire wasn't just big, it was remarkably tolerant for its time, allowing conquered peoples to maintain their religions and customs. This tradition of cultural absorption and adaptation is still visible today in everything from Iranian architecture to their incredibly diverse cuisine. The Islamic conquest in the 7th century didn't erase Persian culture. It merged with it, creating something entirely unique. Unlike Arab countries, Iran maintained its Persian language, poetry traditions, and many cultural practices while embracing Islam. This fusion created a civilization that produced some of history's greatest poets, mathematicians, and philosophers. Names like Rumi, Omar Khayyam, and Hafez aren't just Iranian treasures, they're part of world literature. Fast forward to 1979, and you hit the Islamic Revolution, the event that most Westerners think defines modern Iran. But here's what they don't tell you. The revolution was as much about national independence and social justice as it was about religion. Iranians were tired of foreign interference, economic inequality, and a Shah who seemed more interested in pleasing Western powers than his own people. The revolution wasn't just religious conservatives, it included leftists, intellectuals, and ordinary citizens who wanted change. Understanding this history helps explain why modern Iran is so complex. You're not dealing with a simple theocracy or a uniform society. You're looking at a country where ancient Persian pride coexists with Islamic values, where modern aspirations clash with traditional expectations, and where a young, educated population is constantly negotiating between global connectivity and local customs. This complexity becomes immediately apparent when you start experiencing daily life here. Let me take you through a typical day in Iran, because it's probably nothing like what you imagine. Iranian mornings start early, often before sunrise, especially during prayer times. But don't picture some somber, oppressive atmosphere. Iranian mornings are filled with the sounds of street vendors calling out their wares, children heading to school with backpacks covered in Western cartoon characters, and the constant hum of motorcycles weaving through traffic. The first thing that strikes you about Iranian daily life is how social it is. Privacy, as Westerners understand it, doesn't really exist here. Neighbors know each other's business, extended families live in close proximity, and strangers become friends over shared taxi rides. This isn't nosiness. It's genuine care and community involvement. If you're walking down the street looking lost, someone will approach you within minutes to offer help, often insisting on walking you to your destination personally. Work culture in Iran is fascinating and contradicts so many Western assumptions. Yes, there are prayer breaks, but the modern Iranian workplace is surprisingly flexible and entrepreneurial. With international sanctions limiting traditional employment opportunities, Iranians have become incredibly creative. You'll find engineers driving taxis while running online businesses, teachers who moonlight as tour guides, and students who have mastered cryptocurrency trading. The sanctions that were meant to isolate Iran have actually created a population of resourceful entrepreneurs. Iranian hospitality isn't just famous, it's almost aggressive in its generosity. Refusing an invitation to someone's home is genuinely difficult because they won't take no for an answer. And once you're there, you'll understand why Persian hospitality is legendary. The concept of taraf, a complex social etiquette of politeness and generosity, governs every interaction. Your host will insist you eat more, stay longer, and take gifts home, all while claiming they haven't done enough for you. The gender dynamics are much more nuanced than Western media suggests. Yes, women wear hijabs and there are legal restrictions, but Iranian women are highly educated, professionally successful, and socially influential. They make up over 60% of university students and are active in business, medicine, and academia. The hijab laws are real, but watching Iranian women navigate them reveals incredible creativity and personal expression. Designer scarves, colorful outerwear, and subtle makeup create a fashion scene that's both modest and stunning. Family life remains central to Iranian culture, but it's evolving rapidly. Young Iranians are marrying later, having fewer children, and increasingly questioning traditional gender roles. Yet they maintain strong family connections, with multi-generational gatherings happening regularly. Friday family dinners aren't optional. They're sacred institutions where politics, gossip, and life decisions are discussed over elaborate meals that can last for hours. Evening life in Iran might be the biggest surprise for Western visitors. Instead of everyone retreating to their homes after sunset, Iranian cities come alive. Parks fill with families picnicking on elaborate spreads, young people gather in cafes that stay open late, and shopping districts buzz with activity. Tehran's northern neighborhoods on weekend evenings look like scenes from any cosmopolitan city, with well-dressed young people socializing, shopping, and enjoying themselves within the cultural boundaries they've learned to navigate. Speaking of those evening gatherings, let's talk about what might be Iran's greatest cultural export: its food. If you think Middle Eastern cuisine begins and ends with hummus and falafel, prepare to have your mind completely blown. Iranian food is sophisticated, complex, and utterly addictive, combining influences from the Silk Road with Persian culinary traditions that date back thousands of years. The foundation of Iranian cuisine is rice, but not just any rice. Iranian polo isn't the sport, it's an art form. The perfect Iranian rice has a golden, crispy bottom layer called tahdig that's so prized, fights break out over who gets to eat it. Saffron, the world's most expensive spice, is used liberally here, turning simple rice into golden, aromatic masterpieces that smell like paradise and taste even better. But the real stars are the stews, or koresh. These aren't simple meat and vegetable combinations. They're complex symphonies of flavor that can take hours to prepare properly. Fesenjan, made with pomegranate molasses and ground walnuts, creates a sweet and sour sauce that's unlike anything in Western cuisine. Gourmet sabzi combines fresh herbs, kidney beans, and lamb in a way that's both hearty and refined. Each region has its own variations, and Iranian mothers guard their recipes like state secrets. Street food in Iran operates on a completely different level than what you might expect. Forget greasy food trucks. Iranian street vendors are artisans. Watch a kebab master work his grill, and you're witnessing generations of technique passed down through families. The meat is marinated for hours, the fire is managed with surgical precision, and the bread is baked fresh throughout the day. A complete kebab meal with rice, vegetables, and bread costs less than $5, but the quality rivals expensive restaurants anywhere in the world. The bread culture alone deserves its own documentary. Iranian bakers start work before dawn, preparing different types of flatbread throughout the day. Barbari, with its distinctive ridged surface and sesame seeds, is perfect for breakfast. Sangak, baked on hot stones, has a unique texture that's crispy outside and chewy inside. Taftun is thin and flexible, ideal for wrapping around kebabs. Iranians buy bread fresh multiple times per day, and the local bakery serves as an informal community center where neighbors catch up on gossip while waiting in line. Tea culture in Iran is serious business, and understanding it is crucial to understanding Iranian social life. Forget everything you know about tea bags and casual afternoon drinks. Iranian tea is strong, served in small glasses, and accompanied by sugar cubes that you hold between your teeth while sipping. The samovar, a traditional tea urn, is the centerpiece of every Iranian home, constantly producing fresh tea for family and unexpected guests. But here's where it gets interesting. Iran has a thriving underground coffee culture that would surprise any Starbucks executive. Young Iranians have embraced espresso culture with the same passion they bring to everything else. Hidden away in basements and converted apartments, You'll find coffee shops serving drinks that would make Italian baristas proud. These spaces serve as cultural centers where young people gather to discuss everything from philosophy to politics, creating a vibrant intellectual scene that exists parallel to official culture. The restaurant scene reflects Iran's complexity perfectly. Officially, no alcohol is served, but the food culture more than compensates. High-end restaurants in Tehran rival anything in Europe, with innovative chefs combining traditional Persian flavors with international techniques. At the same time, family-run establishments serve authentic regional specialties that haven't changed in generations. Many of the best meals happen in private homes, where Iranian hospitality transforms dinner into a cultural experience. Vegetarian and vegan travelers, don't worry. Iranian cuisine offers incredible plant-based options that aren't afterthoughts but traditional specialties. Khorak-e-Bademjan features eggplant in rich tomato sauce. Ash-e-Reshteh is a hearty noodle soup with beans and herbs, and various rice dishes incorporate nuts, fruits, and vegetables in sophisticated combinations. The abundance of fresh herbs, fruits, and vegetables means vegetarian meals are colorful, flavorful, and satisfying. This brings us to one of the most misunderstood aspects of Iranian society: the role and experience of women. Everything you think you know about women in Iran is probably incomplete, outdated, or just plain wrong. Yes, hijab laws exist. And yes, there are legal restrictions that seem archaic to Western eyes. But Iranian women have found ways to express themselves, pursue careers, and maintain agency that would surprise anyone who only knows Iran through news headlines. Walk through any Iranian university, and you'll find something remarkable. Women outnumber men significantly. Over 60% of university students are female, and they dominate fields like medicine, engineering, and computer science. Iranian women aren't just educated. They're driving innovation in technology, science, and business. The stereotype of oppressed, uneducated women living in isolation is not only wrong, it's insulting to the millions of Iranian women who are building careers and shaping their country's future. The fashion scene under hijab restrictions is incredibly creative and sophisticated. Iranian women have turned modest dress into an art form, using color, fabric, and accessories to express individuality while adhering to legal requirements. Designer scarves, fashionable overcoats called manteau, and carefully applied makeup create looks that are both elegant and personal. Watching Iranian women navigate dress codes reveals not oppression, but adaptation and creativity. Dating and relationships in Iran operate under unique social constraints that have created their own fascinating dynamics. Young Iranians have developed elaborate social codes for meeting and spending time together. Group activities, family introductions, and carefully chaperoned outings create opportunities for couples to get to know each other within acceptable social boundaries. It's different from Western dating culture, but it's not the arranged marriage stereotype that many foreigners assume. Iranian women are politically aware and socially active in ways that challenge every assumption about life in an Islamic republic. They participate in protests, run businesses, and engage in civil society activities with a sophistication that reflects their education and awareness. The 2022 protests following Mahsa Amini's death weren't isolated incidents. They were expressions of ongoing social tensions and evolving expectations that have been building for years. In professional settings, Iranian women command respect and authority that might surprise visitors from more progressive societies. Female doctors, lawyers, and business owners are common, and they navigate their careers with competence and confidence. The legal restrictions are real, but they haven't prevented Iranian women from achieving significant professional success and social influence. Family dynamics involving women are complex and vary significantly across regions and social classes. While traditional expectations remain strong, younger generations are negotiating new arrangements that balance family obligations with personal aspirations. Iranian mothers wield considerable influence within families, and grandmothers often serve as powerful matriarchs who shape family decisions and cultural practices. The international sanctions have actually created unexpected opportunities for Iranian women in some sectors. With traditional industries limited, women have found success in areas like technology, online education, and creative industries that can operate despite international restrictions. This economic necessity has accelerated changes in gender roles that might have taken decades to develop naturally. Understanding women's experiences in Iran is crucial for understanding the country's future direction. The young, educated, and ambitious women I met weren't passive victims of an oppressive system. They were active agents working within and around constraints to build the lives they wanted. Their stories are complex, inspiring, and completely different from the simplistic narratives that dominate international media coverage. This complexity extends to every aspect of Iranian culture, including their incredible festival traditions that reveal the Persian soul beneath Islamic practices. Iranian festivals aren't just religious observances or tourist attractions. They're living expressions of a culture that has survived conquest, revolution, and international isolation while maintaining its unique identity and joy for life. Nowruz, the Persian New Year, is the most important celebration in Iran, and experiencing it is like watching an entire nation throw the world's longest party. Beginning on the spring equinox, Nowruz lasts for 13 days and combines ancient Zoroastrian traditions with modern Iranian life in ways that are both touching and spectacular. Families spend weeks preparing their homes, buying new clothes, and preparing special foods that have symbolic meanings dating back thousands of years. The Haft Sin table is the centerpiece of Nowruz celebrations, featuring 7 items beginning with the Persian letter S, each representing different hopes for the new year. Sabze, wheatgrass, represents rebirth. Senjed, dried fruit, symbolizes love, and sirke, vinegar, represents patience and age. Watching Iranian families carefully arrange these items while children ask about the meanings reveals how ancient traditions remain relevant and meaningful in modern life. But Nowruz isn't just about symbolism. It's about joy and community. Streets fill with people visiting friends and family, exchanging gifts, and sharing elaborate meals. The tradition of Tawil. The exact moment of the new year brings entire families together to embrace and wish each other well for the coming year. It's Christmas, New Year's Eve, and Thanksgiving rolled into one celebration that lasts for nearly 2 weeks. Chaharshanbe Suri, the fire-jumping festival held before Nowruz, might be Iran's most photogenic tradition. On the last Tuesday before the new year, Iranians build bonfires in streets and parks, then jump over them while chanting prayers to leave the previous year's problems behind and embrace the new year's possibilities. Watching teenagers and grandparents alike leaping over flames while laughing and singing creates an atmosphere of pure joy that is impossible to resist. Religious festivals in Iran blend Islamic observance with Persian cultural traditions in ways that create unique celebrations found nowhere else in the Muslim world. Muharram, the month commemorating the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, involves elaborate street processions, dramatic reenactments, and community gatherings that are both spiritually moving and culturally significant. The Tazieh performances during this period are a form of religious theater that UNESCO has recognized as a masterpiece of oral and intangible heritage. Regional festivals throughout Iran showcase the country's incredible diversity. In Gilan province, locals celebrate the rice harvest with traditional music and dancing that reflects the region's unique culture. Kurdish areas hold spring festivals featuring traditional costumes and dances that have been passed down for generations. Each region's celebrations reveal how Persian, Islamic, and local traditions have merged to create something distinctly Iranian. Wedding celebrations in Iran can last for days and involve entire communities in ways that put Western weddings to shame. The sofre, Eeged, or wedding spread, includes symbolic items that represent fertility, prosperity, and happiness for the new couple. Traditional music, elaborate costumes, and feasting create celebrations that are both deeply meaningful and incredibly fun. Even with legal restrictions on mixed-gender dancing, Iranian weddings find creative ways to celebrate that maintain cultural authenticity while respecting religious requirements. Modern Iranian festivals are evolving to include international influences while maintaining their Persian character. Film festivals, music events, and cultural celebrations show how young Iranians are creating new traditions that blend global connectivity with local identity. These evolving celebrations reflect Iran's ongoing cultural negotiations between tradition and modernity, restriction and expression. All of this culture, tradition, and daily life exists within an economic reality that most Westerners find hard to comprehend. The question everyone asks about Iran is simple: what does it actually cost to live there? The answer is complicated, fascinating, and might make you reconsider your entire understanding of economic development and quality of life. My $700 budget for a month in Iran wasn't just adequate, it was luxurious by local standards. To put this in perspective, the average Iranian salary is roughly equivalent to $200 to $300 per month. Yet most people maintain lifestyles that include dining out, entertainment, and regular social activities. This apparent contradiction reveals a parallel economy that operates alongside the official system, making Iran one of the most affordable destinations for travelers while remaining livable for locals. Accommodation costs in Iran vary dramatically depending on your expectations and location. A basic hotel room in Tehran costs between $15 and $20 per night, but for the same price, you can often find family-run guest houses that include breakfast and personal attention that transforms your stay into a cultural experience. Traditional Iranian hotels, converted from historic buildings, offer atmosphere and character that five-star chains can't match, usually for under $40 per night. Food costs are where Iran becomes almost absurd in its affordability. A complete meal at a local restaurant, including rice, kebab, bread, and vegetables, costs between $3 and $5. Street food is even cheaper, with delicious snacks available for under $2. If you're willing to eat like locals, your daily food budget can easily stay under $10 while enjoying cuisine that would cost 5 times as much in Western countries. Transportation within Iranian cities is remarkably cheap and efficient. Metro systems in Tehran and other major cities charge less than 50 cents per ride, while shared taxis cost around $2 for cross-city trips. Intercity buses are comfortable, punctual, and incredibly affordable, with overnight journeys between major cities costing under $15. Domestic flights, when available, rarely exceed $50 for routes that would cost hundreds in Europe or America. But here's where it gets interesting. Many goods and services that are expensive in the West become luxury items accessible to middle-class Iranians. Fresh saffron, which costs hundreds of dollars per ounce internationally, is a common ingredient in Iranian kitchens. Handmade carpets that would sell for thousands in Western markets are available directly from weavers at fraction of export prices. Traditional crafts, precious stones, and artisanal products offer quality and value that make Iran a shopper's paradise. The sanctions have created unique economic opportunities for resourceful individuals. Many educated Iranians have developed skills in cryptocurrency, online freelancing, and digital services that allow them to earn international income while living with local costs. This has created a growing class of digital nomads and entrepreneurs who enjoy Western-level incomes with Iranian living costs. However, the economic situation isn't uniformly positive. Inflation affects local purchasing power, imported goods are expensive when available, and international banking restrictions create daily inconveniences. Many Iranians work multiple jobs to maintain their lifestyles, and economic uncertainty affects long-term planning. The resilience and creativity that Iranians show in managing these challenges is inspiring, but the underlying economic pressures are real and significant. For foreign visitors, Iran offers incredible value, but it's important to understand that your economic advantages come at the expense of local purchasing power affected by international policies. Responsible travelers should tip generously, support local businesses, and recognize that their budget travel experience is subsidized by economic hardships that affect ordinary Iranians daily. The expat community in Iran is small but growing, consisting mainly of academics, aid workers, and business people who have found ways to navigate the regulatory environment. Their experiences offer insights into long-term life in Iran that go beyond typical tourist observations. Most report that daily life is more normal and comfortable than they expected, but bureaucratic processes and international isolation create ongoing challenges. Getting around Iran reveals another layer of the country's complexity and character. Iranian transportation is a fascinating mix of modern efficiency and chaotic improvisation that somehow works better than it has any right to. Understanding how Iranians move around their country offers insights into their culture, economy, and remarkable ability to find solutions to seemingly impossible problems. Tehran's metro system is modern, clean, and efficient in ways that would surprise anyone familiar with the city's reputation for traffic chaos. Built relatively recently, the subway connects most major areas of the city with trains that run frequently and cost almost nothing. The cars are air-conditioned, the stations are clean, and during rush hours, separate cars are designated for women only, creating comfortable travel options for everyone. But step outside the metro stations, and you enter a transportation ecosystem that operates by its own fascinating rules. Tehran traffic is legendary for its apparent chaos, but watching it closely reveals a complex dance of cooperation and mutual understanding. Lane markings are suggestions, traffic lights are negotiable, and motorcycles weave through impossible spaces with confidence that would terrify most Western drivers. Yet, somehow, it works. Accidents are less common than you'd expect, and the system moves millions of people daily with surprising efficiency. Shared taxis are the backbone of Iranian urban transportation, operating as informal public transit that's more flexible than buses and cheaper than private cars. These shared rides follow established routes, picking up and dropping off passengers along the way. The social dynamics inside shared taxis offer glimpses into Iranian society, as strangers discuss everything from politics to family gossip during their journeys together. Private taxi services have adapted to international sanctions in creative ways. Since major ride-sharing apps aren't available, local companies have developed their own platforms that work surprisingly well. Drivers are usually friendly and curious about foreign passengers, often insisting on practicing their English while providing unsolicited tours of their cities. Intercity transportation in Iran is where the system really shines. The bus network connects every major city with comfortable, punctual service that rivals European systems. VIP buses feature reclining seats, air conditioning, and attendants who serve tea and snacks during long journeys. Overnight buses include sleeping berths that make cross-country travel comfortable and affordable. The bus stations themselves are modern facilities with restaurants, shops, and prayer areas that serve as social hubs for travelers. Iran's train system is limited but historically significant, following routes that connected Persian cities for over a century. The journey from Tehran to Isfahan takes you through desert landscapes and mountain passes while traveling in comfort that exceeds most international train services. The dining cars serve traditional Iranian meals, and the social atmosphere makes train travel a cultural experience rather than just transportation. Domestic flights in Iran operate under unique constraints due to international sanctions affecting aircraft maintenance and route availability. When flights are available, they're incredibly affordable by international standards, but schedules can be unpredictable. Iranian airlines have maintained safety records that are better than their reputation suggests, But travelers should be prepared for delays and cancellations that reflect the challenges of operating under international restrictions. Driving in Iran is an adventure that reveals national character traits in concentrated form. Iranian drivers are aggressive but courteous, chaotic but cooperative. The rules of the road are interpreted creatively, but there's an underlying system of communication and mutual respect that keeps traffic moving. Renting a car offers freedom to explore remote areas, but it requires patience, confidence, and acceptance that Iranian traffic operates by different principles than Western systems. Regional transportation varies significantly across Iran's diverse geography. In mountain areas, shared taxis navigate winding roads with skill that borders on artistry. Desert regions require specialized vehicles and local knowledge to reach remote attractions safely. Coastal areas along the Persian Gulf and Caspian Sea offer boat services that provide different perspectives on Iranian landscapes and culture. The transportation system reflects broader Iranian characteristics: resilience, creativity, and social cooperation in the face of external challenges. Sanctions that were designed to isolate Iran have instead fostered innovation and self-reliance that has created transportation networks that work better than many countries with abundant international support. This ingenuity and resilience become even more apparent when you start exploring Iran's incredible natural and architectural attractions. Iran isn't just a country with interesting culture and affordable living. It's home to some of the world's most spectacular landscapes and architectural achievements that remain largely unknown to international travelers. Isfahan alone could justify an entire trip to Iran. The city that Persians call half the world features Islamic architecture that rivals anything in the Muslim world. The Imam Square, one of the largest city squares in the world, is surrounded by mosques, palaces, and bazaars that showcase Persian artistic achievement at its peak. The intricate tile work, soaring domes, and perfect proportions create an architectural harmony that's both spiritually moving and aesthetically stunning. The Imam Mosque's acoustics are so perfectly designed that whispers at one end of the prayer hall can be heard clearly at the other, a feat of engineering that modern architects still study. The Sheikh Lotfollah Mosque, originally built as a private chapel for the royal family, features interior decorations so elaborate and beautiful that visitors often spend hours examining the details. The morning light streaming through the dome creates patterns that change throughout the day, turning the interior into a constantly evolving work of art. Shiraz offers a different but equally compelling architectural experience. The tomb of Hafez, Iran's most beloved poet, sits in a garden setting that perfectly captures the Persian concept of paradise. Iranians from all social classes visit regularly, reading poetry aloud and seeking inspiration from verses that remain relevant after 6 centuries. The Nasir al-Mulk Mosque, known as the Pink Mosque, creates rainbow light displays when morning sun streams through its colored glass windows, producing one of the most photogenic interiors in the world. But Iran's natural attractions are equally spectacular and far less known internationally. The Alborz Mountains north of Tehran offer hiking, skiing, and mountain climbing that rivals the Alps or Rockies. Mount Damavand, Iran's highest peak, is a dormant volcano that attracts climbers from across the region. The surrounding valleys feature traditional villages, mountain streams, and landscapes that seem untouched by modernity. The Lut Desert in southeastern Iran is one of the hottest and most spectacular desert landscapes on Earth. The Khaluts, wind-carved rock formations, create an alien landscape that seems more like Mars than Earth. The silence and vastness of the desert provide experiences that are both humbling and transformative. Local guides, usually from nearby Bedouin communities, share knowledge about desert survival and traditional ways of life that connect visitors to ancient Persian nomadic cultures. Iran's Caspian Sea coastline offers yet another completely different landscape. The northern provinces feature lush forests, rice paddies, and humid subtropical climate that contrasts dramatically with the desert regions just a few hundred miles south. Traditional wooden houses, tea plantations, and fishing villages create scenery that feels more like Southeast Asia than the Middle East. The Persian Gulf Islands, particularly Keshem and Kish, feature unique geological formations and marine environments that attract regional tourists and scientists. Keshem Island's Hara forests are unique mangrove ecosystems, while the island's salt caves and rock formations create landscapes found nowhere else in the world. Kish Island has been developed as a free trade zone, offering resort-style accommodations and duty-free shopping that provides a different perspective on Iranian development priorities. Historical sites throughout Iran tell the story of one of the world's great civilizations. Persepolis, the ceremonial capital of the Persian Empire, remains one of archaeology's most impressive sites. The massive stone platforms, elaborate reliefs, and monumental staircases convey the power and sophistication of ancient Persia in ways that no textbook can match. The nearby tombs of Persian kings, carved directly into cliff faces, demonstrate engineering capabilities that were unprecedented for their time. Lesser-known historical sites offer equally compelling experiences without the crowds. The ancient city of Yazd features traditional Persian architecture adapted to desert conditions, with wind towers that provide natural air conditioning and underground water channels that enabled civilization in seemingly impossible environments. The Zoroastrian fire temples around Yazd maintain flames that have burned continuously for over 1,000 years, connecting modern visitors to pre-Islamic Persian religious traditions. These attractions exist within a broader context that addresses the question every potential visitor asks: is Iran actually safe? The answer is more complex and reassuring than most Western travelers expect, but it requires understanding the difference between political tensions and daily reality for ordinary people. Iran is one of the safest countries in the world for tourists, a fact that surprises everyone who only knows the country through news headlines. Crime rates are remarkably low, particularly violent crime against foreigners. Theft, while not unknown, is uncommon, and most Iranians will go out of their way to return lost items to their owners. The biggest safety risks for travelers are usually traffic accidents and altitude sickness in mountain regions, not the political dangers that dominate international media coverage. Women traveling alone in Iran, both Iranian and foreign, navigate safety considerations that are different from but not necessarily more dangerous than other countries. The hijab requirements and cultural expectations create additional considerations, but they don't prevent independent travel. Many solo female travelers report feeling safer in Iran than in major Western cities, citing respectful treatment and helpful local assistance as common experiences. Iranian healthcare is surprisingly sophisticated and affordable, reflecting the country's emphasis on education and social services. Major cities have hospitals and clinics that meet international standards, with many doctors trained in Europe or America before returning to Iran. Prescription medications are widely available and affordable, though travelers with specific medical needs should bring adequate supplies due to potential import restrictions on certain drugs. The education system in Iran produces literacy rates and technical skills that exceed many developed countries. University education is highly valued and widely accessible, creating a population that's educated, curious, and often multilingual. This educational emphasis explains why Iranians are so knowledgeable about international affairs and eager to engage with foreign visitors in substantive conversations. Police and security forces in Iran are generally professional and helpful toward tourists. While political demonstrations and sensitive locations require caution, routine interactions with authorities are typically straightforward and cordial. Having proper documentation and following basic cultural guidelines eliminates most potential problems with officials. The biggest safety consideration for visitors is understanding and respecting local customs and laws. Alcohol is illegal, dress codes are enforced, and political discussions can be sensitive topics. However, these restrictions are manageable with basic cultural awareness. and violations typically result in warnings rather than serious legal consequences for tourists. Natural disaster risks in Iran include earthquakes, which can be significant in some regions, and extreme weather conditions in desert and mountain areas. Basic precautions and local guidance minimize these risks, but travelers should be aware of seasonal conditions and regional variations in their planning. Healthcare tourism is actually a growing industry in Iran, with people from neighboring countries traveling for medical procedures that combine high quality with affordable costs. This trend reflects the reality that Iranian medical capabilities exceed international perceptions, and sanctions have not prevented the development of sophisticated healthcare infrastructure. The Persian language barrier isn't as significant as expected, particularly among younger Iranians and in urban areas. English education is common, and many Iranians study foreign languages as part of their university education. In tourist areas and major cities, finding English speakers is rarely difficult, and Iranians appreciate any attempt to learn basic Persian phrases. Emergency services in Iran function effectively, though response times and capabilities vary between urban and rural areas. Tourist police units in major cities are specifically trained to assist foreign visitors and can help with everything from lost passports to medical emergencies. Understanding Iran's safety reality requires separating media portrayals from lived experience. The country faces real political and economic challenges, but daily life for residents and visitors is far more normal and secure than international coverage suggests. Most safety concerns for travelers are similar to those in any developing country, not the extraordinary risks that political tensions might imply. This brings us to practical considerations that every potential visitor needs to understand: visas, internet access, money, and the logistics of actually traveling to Iran. These practical matters are more manageable than they appear from outside the country, but they do require planning and understanding of Iran's unique situation in the international system. Visa requirements for Iran vary significantly by nationality, but most visitors need to obtain visas in advance or through Iran's electronic visa system. The process typically requires passport photos, travel insurance, and proof of accommodation, but it's straightforward compared to many countries with similar requirements. Processing times are usually reasonable, and Iranian consulates are generally helpful in providing guidance for proper applications. The visa on arrival option exists for many nationalities at major airports, but advance applications are recommended to avoid potential complications. Business visas, student visas, and longer-term stays require additional documentation, but the processes are well established and manageable with proper preparation. Internet access in Iran is filtered and limited, requiring VPN services for access to many international websites and social media platforms. However, local internet infrastructure is modern and reliable, with widespread Wi-Fi availability in hotels, cafes, and public spaces. Most international travelers find that VPN services work effectively, though connection speeds can be variable depending on the service and time of day. Banking and money exchange present unique challenges due to international sanctions. International credit cards don't work in Iran, requiring travelers to bring cash for their entire stay. Currency exchange is available through official exchanges and informal markets, with rates that fluctuate regularly. ATMs exist but only work with Iranian bank cards, making cash management a crucial part of travel planning. The Iranian rial has experienced significant inflation, making money calculations complex and requiring attention to current exchange rates. Travelers often find themselves carrying large amounts of cash, which feels unusual but is necessary and generally safe given Iran's low crime rates. Cell phone service in Iran works well for local communications, with prepaid SIM cards readily available for tourists. International roaming is limited due to sanctions, but local SIM cards provide affordable access to Iranian networks. Smartphone apps that work offline can be valuable for navigation and translation when internet access is limited. Cultural etiquette in Iran extends beyond dress codes to include behavior in mosques, interactions between men and women, and social customs around hospitality. Understanding basic guidelines prevents misunderstandings and enhances cultural exchanges. Iranians are generally forgiving of cultural mistakes by foreign visitors, but showing respect for local customs is appreciated and reciprocated. Shopping in Iran offers unique opportunities but requires understanding of export restrictions and customs regulations. Persian carpets, saffron, and traditional crafts are popular purchases, but travelers should understand documentation requirements for valuable items and any restrictions in their home countries. Transportation bookings within Iran can usually be arranged upon arrival, but advanced planning for popular routes and peak seasons is advisable. Language barriers in smaller cities and remote areas can complicate transportation arrangements, making basic Persian phrases or translation apps valuable tools. Photography in Iran requires sensitivity to restrictions around government buildings, military installations, and religious sites. However, most locations welcome photography, and Iranians are generally happy to be photographed and share their culture with visitors. Street photography offers incredible opportunities to capture daily life and cultural moments. Medical preparations for Iran should include standard travel health precautions, but no special vaccinations are required for most travelers. Bringing adequate supplies of prescription medications is important due to potential availability issues with specific brands or formulations. Emergency contact information, including embassy details and local emergency services, should be readily available. Travel insurance that covers Iran is essential, as medical evacuation or emergency services can be expensive and complicated by international restrictions. Learning basic Persian phrases enhances cultural interactions and demonstrates respect for local culture. While English is widely spoken in tourist areas, Persian language skills open doors to deeper cultural exchanges and show appreciation for Iranian heritage. As my month in Iran drew to a close, I found myself grappling with a question that I hadn't expected when I first arrived. How do you reconcile everything you've experienced with everything you thought you knew? Iran didn't just challenge my preconceptions, it completely demolished them and rebuilt my understanding of what this country and its people actually represent. The Iran I discovered isn't the Iran of news headlines or political rhetoric. It's not a simple story of oppression or liberation, tradition or modernity, east or west. It's far more complex, nuanced, and human than any narrative I'd encountered before. The people I met weren't characters in a geopolitical drama. They were individuals with dreams, frustrations, hopes, and daily concerns that transcended the political frameworks that supposedly define their lives. What struck me most profoundly was the gap between Iranian aspirations and international perceptions. The young people I met were globally minded, technologically sophisticated, and culturally curious in ways that shatter every stereotype about isolation and extremism. They navigate restrictions with creativity and resilience that's both inspiring and heartbreaking. They want the same things young people everywhere want: education, opportunity, connection, and the freedom to shape their own futures. The hospitality I experienced wasn't just cultural courtesy, it was a form of resistance against isolation and misunderstanding. Every invitation to share tea, every insistence that I try local food, every conversation about culture and history was an attempt to bridge the gap between their reality and the world's perception of Iran. They wanted me to understand that they're not their government, their policies, or their international reputation. This disconnect between reality and reputation has profound implications that extend far beyond tourism or cultural exchange. Iran's educated population, sophisticated infrastructure, and cultural richness represent resources that could contribute significantly to global knowledge, innovation, and cooperation if political barriers were reduced. The waste of human potential that results from international isolation is one of this situation's most tragic aspects. My $700 budget became a symbol of the broader economic disparities that define Iran's relationship with the global economy. While I enjoyed luxury experiences at bargain prices, the Iranians I met struggled with inflation, limited opportunities, and economic uncertainty that directly result from international policies designed to pressure their government. The irony wasn't lost on me that my affordable travel experience was subsidized by their economic hardship. The cultural sophistication I encountered everywhere, from street vendors who quoted classical poetry to taxi drivers who discussed philosophy, revealed an intellectual tradition that remains vibrant despite political and economic pressures. Iran's contribution to world civilization didn't end with ancient Persia or medieval Islamic scholarship. It continues today in ways that the international community rarely recognizes or acknowledges. Women in Iran emerged as perhaps the most complex and misunderstood aspect of Iranian society. The women I met were neither oppressed victims nor simple symbols of resistance. They were individuals navigating complicated social expectations while pursuing education, careers, and personal fulfillment with intelligence and determination that commanded respect. Their stories don't fit neatly into Western feminist narratives or traditional conservative frameworks. They represent something uniquely Iranian that deserves understanding on its own terms. The religious and cultural landscape I observed was far more diverse and moderate than international portrayals suggest. While Islamic principles influence public life, the private sphere remains rich with Persian traditions, intellectual curiosity, and spiritual exploration that creates a more nuanced religious culture than simplistic fundamentalist stereotypes suggest. The coexistence of different interpretations and practices within Iranian Islam reveals complexities that external observers rarely appreciate. Iran's position at the crossroads of Asia, Europe, and the Middle East isn't just geographical, it's cultural and intellectual. The conversations I had revealed perspectives that synthesize Eastern and Western thought in ways that offer valuable insights for global dialogue. This intellectual bridging function is lost when Iran is isolated from international academic and cultural exchange. The country's natural beauty and historical significance represent global heritage that deserves international recognition and protection. From Persepolis to the Lut Desert, from Isfahan's architecture to the Alborz Mountains, Iran contains treasures that belong to all humanity. Political isolation prevents proper conservation efforts and limits international appreciation of these remarkable sites. As I prepared to leave Iran, I realized that my journey had become more than tourism or cultural exploration. It had become a form of citizen diplomacy that revealed the possibility for human connection across political divisions. Every conversation, every shared meal, every moment of mutual understanding demonstrated that people everywhere share common hopes and concerns that transcend national boundaries and political systems. The question now is, what to do with these insights and experiences? How do you share the reality of a country that's been so thoroughly misunderstood? How do you convey the humanity of people who have been reduced to political abstractions? How do you bridge the gap between lived experience and mediated perception? Iran taught me that curiosity is more valuable than certainty, that personal experience trumps second-hand information, and that human connection transcends political boundaries. The country challenged me to question not just my assumptions about Iran, but my assumptions about the nature of truth, understanding, and the responsibility that comes with genuine cultural exchange. If you're still with me after this journey, you've already taken the first step toward understanding Iran differently. The next step is up to you. Will you let curiosity overcome fear? Will you seek out Iranian perspectives in your own community? Will you question the narratives that shape your understanding of countries and cultures you've never experienced directly? Comment below with your thoughts about Iran now, compared to before watching this. What surprised you most? What questions do you still have? And most importantly, what other misunderstood places in the world deserve the same kind of careful, curious exploration? Iran isn't just a travel destination. It's a lesson in the importance of seeing beyond headlines, politics, and preconceptions to discover the human stories that make every culture worth understanding. The real Iran is waiting for anyone brave enough to look beyond the surface and discover the profound beauty of a misunderstood civilization. Your journey to understanding Iran doesn't require a plane ticket or a passport. It starts with curiosity, continues with research, and grows through genuine engagement with Iranian culture, people, and perspectives wherever you can find them. The Iran I've shown you today is just the beginning of a much larger story that deserves to be told, understood, and celebrated.